Hey, what's up? Welcome back. In this episode, we're going to talk about error handling. We're also going to talk a little bit about RSpec and how you can test the output of a function. So it's going to be just a super quick Ruby episode here where we're going to write some tests. So I've got this little thing that I'm working on. So we are improving the error handling documentation as part of the Stripe docs. And there are some examples here, and I am kind of like helping out writing the code snippets. And one of the things that I wanted to do was write some tests around these. And so I thought it might be fun to just like jump in and show how I might test this out. So the first thing is I'm going to actually put my real API key so that our tests actually run. And the idea is that if you call this example function with some arguments like the amount and a currency, and then maybe a payment method. So there's a bunch of test payment method strings you can use. So like PM, card, Visa. Now if we're to run this, so down in the far left corner, I'm saying Ruby errors.rb. So this is gonna like actually execute the file, and we see that no error was printed out. I'm surprised by that because I think, oh right, we wanna pass confirm true, so it tries to actually confirm the payment intent right now. Okay, no error. If we take out the currency though, then we get this invalid request occurred. And so right now on the doc, we have this, this error to trigger thing where you can say like, show me the params that I would pass if I got an invalid request, or show me the params I would pass if I want to get a card error. And all of these are sort of showing the output that you would see if we passed in one of the test cards that is used for, you know, a decline or whatever. And so if we look at the docs for the testing cards, there's actually like a bunch of test cards or test payment method strings. But what I want to do is I want to print out the error message as part of each of these errors that we're handling. And in order to do that, I need to kind of like make sure that the code that I'm changing in this snippet is not going to break. And so one thing that I wanted to do was just write some inline RSpec tests. So right here, I can say require RSpec just directly inline in this file. And I'm actually going to just get rid of that and say rspec.describe example function. And then inside of here, I want to have like a new test that says something like it handles card error. And then inside of here, I want to exercise that example function. So I'm going to call, in fact, I might even grab like the snippet here that we expect to fire a card error. And then if we were to just run it right now, so we can actually just run like rspec errors.rb, and it should run the specs the same way that you would expect if you had like a separate lib and spec directory. And so we can see that it did pass, but we got this message, an error occurred, your card was declined. So RSpec provides you this, this handy tool where you can pass a block into an expect function and then expect that it's going to output something. So we can say expect that the stuff inside of this block is going to output. So we can say like .to output, I think, and then we can pass in a string, a card error, blah, blah, blah. And then we want to say to standard out, because when we say puts, we're just printing directly out to standard out. It's not to standard error or anything else like that. Probably, I don't know, like in practice, maybe we should be logging these out to standard error, but the example is more about how do you handle a certain exception type versus like how do you log it. So I think this is okay. So if we run this again, it says undefined method to output. I think maybe it's to output like this. Let's see. We want to expect that, okay, cool. So yeah, so we're expecting that running this block will output something, and it's not a card error, it's gonna be a card error occurred, your card was declined. So that's actually what we want inside of our expectation here. And it has a new line, and I'll probably put this down a little bit here. So this is kind of like how we might build expectations around an output, so around this put statement. Now I want to improve this one a little bit so that it prints out the error message, but first let's just write a little test for it. So we're going to say it handles an invalid request error. And then the invalid request error is actually going to be a little bit different. So if we go to the invalid request, this one is just missing the currency, but it's passing PM card Visa, which is a valid card. So we're going to remove the currency and we'll add in this same sort of like comment here. And now we're going to expect that it's going to output something different. So I'm going to run it without any output expectation there, and it'll tell me like, okay, an invalid request occurred. But I want it to print out more than that. I want it to print out something like an invalid request occurred, like missing param currency, which is, I think, what will come from the Stripe API if we did this right. So let's see what we get back. Missing param currency is not included because our actual implementation does not include that yet. So I'm going to say, after this, in fact, like I want a period at the end of that sentence also. Now I can say e.error.message, which is where the message is going to be stored. So if we rerun this, we will see, okay. And, oh, missing required param currency, and then it has, okay, missing required param currency. Is that right? Let's see. Maybe there's no space after, yeah, okay, there's no space after the new line. I don't know. And then I think what I actually need is to use, yeah, I need to use double quotes here, right? Because I'm using that new line character. That always throws me off. Okay, now what's different? Did I spell something wrong? Missing required param currency. So an invalid request occurred. Okay, let's see. That's what it should be, I think. What is the diff? Do you see the diff? Was this the one I'm supposed to copy? Let's see. Oh, does this one not have, wait, I wonder, is that the one that's failing? Am I not failing the other one? What's going on here? Wait, a card error occurred, your card was declined, and it output your card. Oh, wait, there's two, okay, you know what? I added a period up here and then I didn't realize that I was causing the other test to break. Okay, that's why you only change one thing at a time. All right, now we have two passing tests, so that's pretty cool. Another one, though, that gets a little bit trickier is then when we're trying to handle something like a stripe error, which is just a generic. All right, so we want to expect that it handles a stripe error. So we're going to add this new assertion, handles stripe error. And then for now, we'll just say this is going to be some other error message. And if we attempt to run this now, we should get just the same sort of generic failure before because it was missing currency. But if we say currency is USD, then what we want to do is actually like explicitly cause an authentication error. And there's a couple ways we could do this. One would be to just sort of set the API key globally, or like set the API key per request somehow so that it failed. Like maybe we say like stripe.api key is like invalid here. But if we were to run this and the tests run out of order, then it's going to globally set the API key to invalid for like all of the other subsequent tests. So instead of doing this globally, what we want to do is create a new client. So we're going to say stripe client dot new and pass in invalid API key here. And then we can say something like client.request do, and then everything that's inside of this block will run in the context of that client. This is like one of the ways that you can instrument things to happen. But basically we're expecting this is going to be like an authentication error message thing. I'm not actually sure what the error message is yet, so I'm just going to run it like this, and then we are going to see this error here. So another problem occurred, unrelated to Stripe, invalid API key provided, and then it has like something key. So this is actually what we want. So I'm I'm gonna grab that and then paste it in here. Maybe unrelated to Stripe, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so let's see if this is now passing. Another way that we could have done it is sort of like maybe stubbed out. We could have stubbed out the payment intent create method that's inside of our example function here. We could have like said, if this fires, then make sure that it raises a specific exception type. Like maybe it just raises Stripe error and then it goes into this block, and then we could make sure that that actually happens. I don't know. There's a couple different ways we could have done that, I guess. Let's see. We also want an assertion to make sure that it prints out no error. It handles, or like it works, or like prints in the success case or something. And then we can just remove all of this fanciness around here. And we're going to expect that if we have the right keys and everything, that we're going to print out no error. All right, let's see if that works. Okay, we expected no error, but we got no error with a new line, and of course. All right, fantastic. So now what we have is a tested code snippet. We know for sure that the error messages are printing out. We know for sure that it works in all of these different cases. And we have like examples that we can show in the doc for all of those. Now we have to just go write it in all the other languages. So this is always a really handy tool that I like dropping, just like dropping in an RSpec, or even if you're using some other test framework, right? Dropping that in line as you're working on something can be really helpful so that you can ensure that as you're changing things, you're not breaking other things. As you noticed, as soon as I added a dot to this output message while I was working on the test for this one, I broke the other test. And that gives me a lot of confidence that this is working as expected because I have everything sort of tested. All the different cases are tested. So yeah, this is hopefully this is useful. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.